Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back in the video today, and today we're going to be recapping day 2 of NBA free agency. Let's get started. Today it wasn't as active as day 1 was, of course, but day 2 was, there was a lot of interesting stuff going on. We had some big re-signings. Lakers re-signed Austin Reaves and some others. Bucks re-signed Brook Lopez and way more. Max contracts given out. Let's get into it. So first thing is Tyrese Halliburton signs a max extension with the Pacers for a 5-year, $260 million deal. Great for the Pacers to lock him up. They've been building around him really good. Today they traded for Obi Toppin for 2 second-round picks. They signed Bruce Brown yesterday. They drafted Jarice Walker. I like how they've been building around Tyrese Halliburton and the Pacers. So that's great for the Pacers right there. Brook Lopez re-signs with the Bucks, 2 years, $48 million deal. I like this signing for the Bucks. I think it was a little bit of an overpay, but there were teams that were willing to pay Brook Lopez, like the LA Lakers and the Houston Rockets. So I think the Bucks had to overpay a little bit for him, so he would not leave for the Houston Rockets, and it was probably a little bit of an overpay. But Brook Lopez had a great season, averaging 16, 7, and 2.5 blocks per game on 37% shooting as a 35-year-old. Austin Reaves re-signs with the Lakers on a 4-year, $56 million deal. For the Lakers to get this guy for $14 million, I'm sure he had other offers for way higher and probably did not even think about, signing an offer sheet for that. And rumors are that they're looking to use him as they're trying to run the point with him. I'm not sure if he's not going to start at the point guard. D'Lo will, but they're trying to run the offense around Austin Reaves, him running the offense. So that was some interesting news to hear. But great move for the Lakers in re-signing Austin Reaves to a 4-year, $56 million deal. Definitely got a steal on the number though. Dillon Brooks to the Houston Rockets. I love this signing for my Houston Rockets, a 4-year, $80 million deal, and a signing trade that sends Josh Christopher and Patty Mills to the Memphis Grizzlies. I know we overpaid for him. I know he struggled in the playoffs, but if you look at this for us, he's a guy, he's a guy for the Rockets that, last season he averaged 15 points per game. He's an all-NBA defensive player. And if you look at the Rockets roster, they have a lot of defensive talent. Fred VanVleet, Amen Thompson, KBJ averaged like 2.5 steals per game. Now Dillon Brooks, an all-NBA defensive player. Tari Eason and Jason Tate are really good defenders. Jabari Smith Jr. is an amazing shot blocker. Apparently, Alperen Sengun has been working on his paint defense, which was absolutely disgusting. It was awful. That was like the only thing Alperen Sengun couldn't do was guard in the paint. You added in Jock Landale and Jeff Green, solid defenders. So the Rockets defensively, and especially with Ime Udoka running that core on defense, are going to be way better this season. And probably I would think probably a top 5, top 7 defense in the NBA with having Fred VanVleet, Dillon Brooks and Amen Thompson on defense. It's going to be scary to watch. And then you got Jalen Green and Amen Thompson, on a fast break. The Rockets are going to be fun to watch next year for sure. And being non-biased too. But yeah, Brooks overpaid him, but and also it's one playoff series. Players, they struggle in a playoff series. Dillon Brooks was not the only person in the playoffs this year to struggle in the playoff series. So did Jordan Poole. So did D'Angelo Russell. Other players in the playoffs struggled in playoff series. Donovan Mitchell was terrible. I know that's a different story, but Donovan Mitchell was terrible in their series against the Knicks. So players struggle in playoff series, and he wasn't even that bad. He had, I think the reason why people hate on him is because he trash talked. He trash talked everybody. He trash talked LeBron James, and he had nothing to show for it. He was terrible. He averaged 11 points per game in the series. And I think people think with him, trash talking LeBron James like that, oh, he's old and this and that, and just trash talking in general. I think that's why people, make fun of him. But he's still a good defensive player. He's a solid 3-point shooter. And not only that, but, he's a trash talker. He's aggressive on defense. And I really like the signing for the Rockets. Russell Westbrook re-signs with the Clippers on a 2-year, $8 million deal. This was a steal for the Clippers. Get Russ back. He was excellent for the Clippers, and in the regular season and playoffs. In the regular season with the Clippers, averaged 17, 8, and 17, 8, and 5. And add him back, and imagine they trade for James Harden, have Russ at the point, James at the 2, Paul at the 3, and then Kawhi at the 4 and Zubac at the 5. Imagine all those players together in their prime. I mean, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard I would think Kawhi Leonard's still in his prime. When healthy, Kawhi is still in his prime because Kawhi is an elite player when healthy. I think Paul George is at the end, if not already Paul George is like at the end of his prime and maybe still in it just a tiny bit. James Harden is way past his prime, but still a good player, averaging 20, 21, and 11 last year. Russell Westbrook is way past his prime, but he's still a good player, averaging 17 and 8 and 5. So if they trade for James Harden, that Clippers team is going to be really nice next year. And then they're going to have Norman Powell off the bench, a guy who was like second in voting in Sixth Man of the Year last year. So that move to get Russell Westbrook on that cheap of a contract was a great move for the LA Clippers. I'm not going to talk about much about it, but the Memphis Grizzlies signed Desmond Bane to a max contract, 5-year, $207 million, and then the Hornets signed LaMelo Ball to a max extension with the Hornets, $206 million up to $260 million. And then again, Domantas Sabonis extends with the Kings on a 5-year, $217 million extension. So those were the max extensions. Then Max Strus signs with the Cavaliers in a sign-and-trade that sends Jenny Osman and Lamar Stevens to the Lamar Stevens to the Spurs, and also the Spurs got a second-round pick, and then it also sends to the Miami Heat, and they get Max Strus. I like what the Cavs have been doing this free agency. They've been adding in bench depth, which was a big problem for them. They added in Georgie Yang. Now they've added in Max Strus. They brought back Harris LeVert. They brought in Ty Jerome. They brought in Damian Jones. They've had, their bench was terrible last year, and they have improved their bench rotation. So I really do like this move for the Cavaliers and a sign and trade. All right, next one, D'Angelo Russell re-signed with the Lakers on a 2-year, $37 million deal. This was a steal for the Lakers. He was supposed to get like $20 to $25 million a year. He only got 18.5. And he's gonna bounce back next year too. I can't wait to watch this Lakers team next year. They're so fun. You got D'Lo at the point, Reaves at the 2, Rui at the 3, Braun at the 4, AD at the 5. Then you got off the bench, you got Gabe Vincent, Cam Reddish, Jared Vanderbilt. Who else? You got Taurean Prince, Jackson Hayes. And then you also drafted Jalen Hood-Schifino. I really like this Lakers team for next season. Dante DiVincenzo signs with the Knicks to reunite with his Villanova teammates and Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart on a 4-year, $50 million deal. I really love this deal for the Knicks. And he averaged 10, 4, and 4 this season on nearly 40% three-point shooting. I really love this sign. I really love that signing for them. And I'm going to try to say this correctly, but the Kings sign Sasha Viskov. I've heard nothing but good things about him. He's a 6'9", resigning EuroLeague MVP. They signed him to a 3-year, $20 million deal, and he has a lot of potential talent. After initially acquiring his draft rights during the 2022 NBA draft, the Kings will now be bringing in Vinskov to Sacramento after last playing for Olympiacos in Greece. The 27-year-old is a strong fit for I'm just reading off because I have no idea about this guy. The Kings roster with his three-point shooting and cutting as he projects to be a rotation player on the wing behind Harrison Barnes and Keegan Murray. The EuroLeague's most valuable player, Vaskov, averaged 17.6 points per game and 6.8 rebounds per game past season. So, I mean, just wanted to read about that. I'm sorry, guys, but I didn't know anything about this guy besides he was besides he was the former EuroLeague MVP. I've heard people think he's going to be a great NBA player, but I really do like that deal for the Sacramento Kings. He should be a really good piece for them off the bench, and I think has some decent NBA talent. 76ers signed Patrick Beverley to a 1-year, $3.2 million deal. I like the signing for the 76ers. Daryl Morey has a pass of bringing back former Rockets players that he either drafted or signed. I mean, look at what Daryl Morey has done as the Sixers GM. Traded for Harden. He traded for DeAnthony Melton, a guy that was on the Grizzlies, but DeAnthony Melton was drafted by the Rockets, and Morey drafted him. He signed guys like Daniel House and PJ Tucker, who he brought in free agency. He brought them in free agency with the Sixers, but he also brought them in with the Rockets. He signed. I don't know. I guess this was just a Rockets connection to Daryl Morey because he had nothing to do with this guy. But he also signed Trevelyan Queen last year in free agency, a guy who played a little bit of regular season ball with the Rockets, but also was a part of the Vipers team. So he was another former Rocket. And now they're signing Patrick Beverley, a guy who was a part of the Rockets for ever. I mean, he was with the Rockets from 2013 to 2017, maybe 2014 to 2017. So another former Houston Rocket has been brought in by Daryl Morey. So not surprising at all. But he'll be great for the Sixers off the bench, maybe even a starter next year. Another European player on a big deal. I'm going to try to say this one, but don't get at me if I can't do it. Vasilije, I know I said, I'm 110%. I know I said that wrong. I don't even want to try to say that last name. To the Thunder. The deal is a 3-year, $23.5 million deal. One of Europeans' best and most accomplished players has agreed on a 3-year, $23.5 million deal to join the Thunder, a 2-time EuroLeague champion and an MVP. I'm gonna try. It's MICIC. I don't know. Brings a significant skill set and IQ to OKC. That's a good sign. With what I'm reading, Fastly. Average 16.5 points per game and 4.6 assists per game, and was the MVP of the Turkish finals. He's a good player. I like it. And he's another ball handler in the backcourt. So a decent signing for the Thunder. I just don't know too much about him. Thomas Bryant to Miami. I really do like this deal for Miami. Bringing Thomas Bryant to a 2-year, $5.4 million deal. He's a guy who, with the Lakers, last year before the Lakers moved him to the Nuggets. And the Nuggets, I don't want to talk about his Nuggets stays because the Nuggets did not use him right. They did not want to play him in the playoffs, which I'm not going to say he should have played in the playoffs, but with the Lakers, he was amazing. He averaged 12 and 7 with the Lakers and shot 70% and 22 minutes per game. Man, I honestly, the Lakers should have never got rid of him, in my opinion. I thought the Lakers should have never got rid of him. I know they got 3 second-round picks, but I honestly still think that the Lakers should have never moved on from him because he was honestly amazing for the Lakers rotation. He averaged 12 and 7 with the Lakers. I love this signing for the Miami Heat. They kind of needed a backup center. They brought back Kevin Love, but besides Bam, they don't really have a backup center. Cody Zeller, he did solid, but you need someone better than Cody Zeller. Honestly, if in the NBA Finals, if you would have had Thomas Bryant in the rotation instead of Cody Zeller, I'm not saying that he would have won the Finals, but they probably would have looked way better. I don't know if it changes any games that they had, but whenever Bam needed a rest, if you would have had Thomas Bryant at the center instead of Cody Zeller, he would have been really good for the Heat in that final series. Maybe you still lose in 5, but it would be way closer games as well from when Bam is taking a rest. And him and Bam are actually him and Bam are both very similar. Both have similar games. I think the only difference really is that Brian is actually kind of a better 3-point shooter, and Bam is a little bit more of a better ball handler as well. Mo Wagner re-signed with the Magic to a 2-year, $16 million deal. Averaged 10.5 points per game and 4.5 rebounds per game for the Magic. Really like that re-signing for them as well. A second move of free agency for them. Dwight Powell returns to Dallas on a really cheap deal. 3-year, $12 million deal to sign $4 million. $4 million a year. He averaged 7 and 5 last year, starting most of the games for Dallas last year. He started in 64 of 76 games played. Jay Crowder re-signs with the Bucks on a 1-year deal. We don't know the money on that, but hopefully Jay Crowder has a better second go around with the Bucks. He was very frustrated on his playing time in the playoffs. Hopefully, on a full season with the Bucks will be way better. Dennis Smith Jr. to the Brooklyn Nets on a 1-year, $2.5 million deal. I really like this move for Brooklyn. He gave the Charlottes. He was really good for Charlotte last year. Averaged 9 and 5, 2 steals per game and 25 minutes per game last season. Was really good in the second half of the year. At the end of the year, and I really like that signing for Brooklyn. Jackson Hayes to the Lakers on a 2-year, $4.6 million deal. They needed a big man. He had a solid season with the Pelicans this year, and there's a player option in year 2. I really like that signing. He's a good rim protector as well. Ty Jerome to the Cavs, a 2-year, $5 million deal. He's a guy who had a good season with the Warriors last year, and it'll be interesting to see. This is actually almost his birthday. I think his birthday's tomorrow. It says here his birthday's tomorrow. But, it'll be great for the Cavaliers bench. I like what the Cavs have been doing in free agency. Jock Landale, my Houston Rockets signed Jock Landale to a 4-year, $32 million deal. I really like this signing for the Houston Rockets. He'll be a good backup center. He averaged 7 and 5 last year with the Phoenix Suns and only 14 minutes per game. He'll get way more minutes on the Rockets next year because Alp's not going to be getting 34 minutes per game. Alp's going to play anywhere around 20. Alp's going to play around 29 to 32 minutes. Alp's going to play anywhere of 29 to 31, maybe 32 minutes per game next season. And that gives Jock Landale in the area of 2 to 5 more minutes than he got per game on the Suns. And I think there's way more opportunities for Jock Landale to score than there was with the Suns. And he's also was very good for the Suns in the playoffs when Aiden was struggling. But next signing, Jalen McDaniels to the Raptors on a 2-year, $9.3 million deal. I really like that signing for the Raptors. He's a really good player. Jack White to the Thunder on a 2-year deal. He had a solid year with the Thunder. Not a huge signing, though. Spurs re-sign Sandro. I'm not going to say this is – I'm gonna go for it. Chevy. That is a long last name. There's like 10 or 12 letters in that last name right there. I've heard an announcer say it before because I think I've talked about him, during a post game once. I think when the Spurs were talking about when the Spurs were playing the Rockets, but that is a weird name. Jeff Green to my Houston Rockets. I love this deal for the Rockets on a 1-year, $6 million deal. This is a great move for Houston. We're adding in veteran experience. He's just coming off winning an NBA championship. I love the veteran experience. And not only does he bring in veteran experience, he's also still a solid player at almost 37 years old. He averaged 8 points per game and 3 rebounds per game. He's still a solid player, and he's a great veteran experience guy. Alex Len stays with the Kings on a 1-year, $3.2 million deal. He had a really good season as the Kings' backup center. And then Dante Exum is back in the NBA, is signing with the Mavericks. No details on his contract. And I think that is everything. So that's the end of free agency day 2. You guys have any thoughts on free agency day 2? Today was a really fun day to watch everything go down. Smaller deals, but besides Austin, besides the max contracts being handed out, besides Austin Reaves and D'Lo and Brook Lopez and Dylan Brooks being signed, it was a day of smaller guys being signed to contracts, role players. But you guys have any thoughts on free agency day 2? That's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace out.